Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be the mid-year freakout challenge tag. You guys know a lot of the booktubers have been putting out this video and I figured I would create it too. It's interesting. It's just kind of like getting to know a little bit more about what our favorite books have been so far, what we're interested in reading next, so I figured I would do it too. And there's a list of questions and I will leave it linked down below for anyone who would like to do it. I'll start with the first one, and the first one is the best book you've read so far in 2022. You know what? I should have planned. I sort of did some of these. Oh, I'm trying to think. So I don't have one specific book, but I do have a series that I think is my favorite series I've read this year. I've read two series. Like, I have other books that I've really enjoyed this year, books that have made me enjoy new authors, like find new authors, but this series is the Song of Seer series by, what's her name? Carla Laureano, and it's these books here. And I actually have videos. I will try and figure out which videos they are. I think it's one reading vlog, and then in one of my wrap-ups, I go through what this series is about and my feelings towards it. I really love this series. I kind of wish it was longer. I wish it wasn't a trilogy. I wish it had like 10 books. I was really loving it. And yeah. So yeah, I think this was a great series and my favorite so far this year that I've read. And that can kind of go for the second question, because the second question is best sequel you've read so far in 2022. That was a trilogy, so there you go. 2 in 1. I need to cut in here because I forgot that this is one of my favorite books from this year. That's the first question. Best book you've read so far. This one, Liberated Through Submission by P.B. Wilson. It's an excellent book if you're trying to grow your faith. It's definitely geared towards women, wives, single women. I think it does an excellent job of explaining submission. I think our culture can twist God's view of submission and see it as I tell you what to do and you do it and that's it. And that is not what submission is. That's not what true submission is. That's not what biblical submission is. And I think she does an excellent job explaining it. And yeah, I think it's great. So definitely give this book a read. A new release you haven't read yet but want to. When I was kind of going through these questions and picking answers for them, at the time my answer would have been Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is a book everyone's been talking about. It did come out this year and I've been really I actually just started it yesterday and I'm about 50 pages in and I'm really enjoying it. So this is definitely one of the books that I've been wanting to read that had just came out. The next question is most anticipated release for the second half of 2022. For me, I don't really keep up with authors and if they're coming out with new books, unless I'm reading a series and I've become obsessed. But one author that I really did like is Elena Amaras. She wrote The Spanish Love Deception and her next book is coming out in September. So I'm excited for that, and it's called The American Roommate Experiment. So yeah, I'm really excited for that book. So that is my most anticipated release of 2022. My biggest disappointment. That, my friends. Oof. You know what? We've had a couple of duds. Some disappointing reads from 2022. I have a few. One I actually DNF'd. So this one is called When Broken Roads Lead Home. I talked about this in one of my wrap-ups too. This was just a weird book. I had high hopes. For it. I can't believe I actually read the entire thing. It felt like two separate books in one, kind of like a first and a second book. And there was just, I don't know. It's kind of like they built up their characters and then she crumbled them. And then there was just a lot of things that I felt lacked. This book lacked a lot, and I wish it was split up into two books and then refined and expanded on and just done a little bit better. I feel like there are some things in here that are just like not okay. Like, I did feel like some of their dialogue was completely unrealistic. I did feel like some scriptures maybe were taken out of context or taken too literal, like literal in a weird sense. I don't know how to say. And I felt like the plot has some holes in it. I thought I heard something. Oh, I'm like, I heard something, and I like froze, and I'm like, oh my goodness, is there a mouse in here? I don't know if I finished talking about that book. I put it away. There's just a lot of things wrong with it. Another book that was not a great read is The Girl Behind the Red Robe. Some parts were a little confusing until you caught on what was going on, but I felt like there could have been a little bit more clarity as to what was happening. And not necessarily like unveiling like the hidden things. I just mean like sometimes they would like it just wasn't clear. It's like, where are they? Oh, they're in the woods. Oh, okay. Oh, he ran away from, like, it was just like certain things like that. But also, I think if you are, this is written by a Christian. If you're not a Christian, I think this book could severely confuse you, because these people were in a cult-like society. No, they were in a cult. It was like, and it was like twisting scripture and just a lot of things, and they were basically set free from that. But I don't know, I just felt like this book could really confuse you if you are struggling in your faith, or if you are new to Christianity. Like, this is not the book for you. I don't think it's the book for anyone. I just felt like it had a few holes in it, and it needed something better. And it also wasn't, I wouldn't have thought this was, the only reason why I thought this was written by a Christian was because, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of like maybe someone who was raised in a very legalistic Christian home, and then grew up, left Christianity, and was like, I'm gonna write this book. That's what this kind of reminded me of. I just felt like for the authors being Christians, I felt like there should have been more clarity at the end, a more, not necessarily like, oh, you need to share the gospel in every book you write, but I felt like there wasn't enough clarity to distinguish what is good and what is not. So it wasn't a great read. The last book I have that I was disappointed with in 2022 is Verity by Colleen Hoover. I feel like so many people were loving this book. The storyline I was really enjoying. I was loving the writing style, just like everything that was going on. But it was the spicy scenes for me. I just felt like some of them weren't necessary. I didn't even finish the book. I got really far into it. I got over halfway through this book, and I DNF'd it. I just felt like the spicy scenes were just too raunchy, and I was just like, for some of them, like, I skim or I just like flip through. Like, you really didn't need them. There were some of them that she could have just like left it out, left the important part, and then just like, I don't know, just done it differently. I felt like it heavily depended on that. The actual reason of the book and the story and all that stuff was really good. So I did go on YouTube and like read spoilers because I wanted to know what happened, but I just felt like you couldn't separate the two. And that was something that bothered me, because I was like, this is a great story, and I feel like we could have done less or done it in a different way that didn't feel like, I don't know, I just felt like it was more graphic than it needed to be sometimes. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm more sensitive to it now. But that is just my opinion. Biggest surprise. Okay, I guess I would say this book is my biggest surprise. This is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. I've just heard so many mixed reviews. I have a full video dedicated to this. It's a reading vlog and a full review of what I think of the book. I just think there's so many people that are so against this book and so many people that love this book. And I think I fall right in the middle. I think it's an excellent book. I love her writing. I think she did a great job. I know there's many people that said that this started their, I'm talking about Christians specifically, like this was a book that opened up to reading more books that had spice in it and just, falling down that addictive rabbit hole of erotica reading. I just felt like I did not find any, I felt like she did a good job letting you know that there is sex included, but it wasn't graphically told. Maybe that's where some people probably just don't even like that part. It's like, I don't know. I felt like this book was good for me. I wouldn't recommend this book to anyone who does not like reading books that are romance or have a trigger for erotica, just because I know that there are many reviews with people saying that this made them stumble, and I'm aware of that, so I would not obviously give them this book. If I know other people have struggled, I just wouldn't. I do think they talk about hard topics here. They talk about child trafficking, sexual abuse, sexual trauma, things like that. So I would say this is a trigger warning book. And I think the only thing I wouldn't agree with this book is the author calls it a powerful retelling of the story of Gomer and Hosea. Redeeming love is a life-changing story of God's unconditional, redemptive, and all-consuming love. I don't agree with the first half of that statement. I do not think this is a retelling of the story of Hosea. The closest thing to Hosea that this is that his name was Hosea, she was a prostitute, and God said marry her. Everything else is fictionally based. When you read the book of Hosea, it's from Hosea's perspective, God telling him, and it's symbolizing Israel's prostitution against God. How, Israel is constantly going back to the world. And that is what the book of Hosea is about. And Hosea is told to marry this prostitute, and he is married to a woman who keeps going back to prostitution, keeps going back to a life of sin, going back to a life of slavery. And he is feeling a little bit of what God feels when we betray him. He takes her back and he shows her love, and he is he still loves her. He loves the children she gives her. He cares for her because God tells him, this is your wife. You will love her. You will take her back every time, because that's what God does with us. I think this book, I wouldn't consider it a retelling because we don't know her side of the story. In this book, her side of the story is very traumatic, and it's not like she chose to be a prostitute and just kept leaving, and there's more to it, and I feel like that's not something we get in the Bible. So I would consider this fictional. I would not consider this based on Hosea, inspired by Hosea. They took the very baseline of Hosea and we got this. So that is just my opinion. I do think it's an excellent book, though. I really did enjoy it. And yeah, I do think, though, that it is an excellent story for you to understand God's redeeming love, his unconditional love, his, what else did they describe it as? All-consuming love. This book does show you the love of God. And I think it does a great job of that. I wouldn't consider it a retelling of Hosea. So that was a really long answer. Ooh, new favorite author, debut or new to you? New to me. Christina Lauren. Actually, I also just learned that that's not just one author. It's two authors in one. Ugh, their music is so loud. I hope you guys can't hear that. So a new author to me is Christina Lauren. Oh, they have 27 books. I gotta read more books, but I have these two, The Soulmate Equation and The Unhoneymooners, and I loved these books. I love their writing styles, because there's two of them. I love their writing styles. I love the way that they develop these, they're typical rom-com storylines, but I love the way that they unravel. I think they do an excellent job. I've only read 2 books and I want to get more. I did also like too that they do have some spicy scenes in them, but it's a page or a page and a half. So you can literally just flip the page and you're done. I really enjoyed that it wasn't this drawn out whole chapter of lovemaking, because we don't need that. We don't. I just really did enjoy these. I want to get all the rest of the books. So this is definitely a new favorite author for me, and I'm very excited to order more books once my book buying ban is done. Newest fictional crush. I don't really do fictional crushes. I don't crush on the people in my books. Maybe the last time I did was in Twilight, when I went through a phase where I just read Twilight for an entire year. I would read the first, second, third, fourth book, start again, read the first, second, third, fourth books. But I really only liked books 1 and 2, kind of 3. 4 was alright. I don't know. I was obsessed with Twilight. That's what really got me reading. No, I used to read other books. I used to read The Babysitter's Club. I liked reading, but what got me reading into more books was Twilight, and I was obsessed. And I was, into books, Team Jacob, but also not Team Jacob. I was Team Bella needs to be more independent. Yeah, no fictional crush. Book that made you cry. I may cry when I read, so Redeeming Love made me cry. The series, The Song of Seer, made me cry. The Cruel Prince series made me cry. Banished Love Deception, I'm pretty sure I teared up. I just cry for everything. I can read the book and they're like, I love you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he loves her. I've read 32 books and there are definitely not 32 books there on this shelf. you know what? I am the easiest crier when it comes to reading. I can cry for everything. So all the books make me cry. Book that made you happy. Ooh, a book that made me happy. Sorry. I would say The Soulmate Equation and The Unhoneymooners, because I read them back to back and they were great. I really did enjoy those books. Like after I put it down, I had a couple other books that I wanted to read before The Unhoneymooners, and I picked up Unhoneymooners because I just loved their writing style so much, and I was just so happy to really fall in love with the characters, but like easily go into another one. So I would say those two books. Books that made me happy though, Song of Seer though. That was that trilogy. It really got me. I would also say those books. Like originally I bought book 3. So then I bought book 1 because I was like, okay, I can't read book 3 without reading book 1. Read book 1. I was upset that I did not order book 2 at the same time because I couldn't continue. Great. Most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. I feel like all my books are ugly. Not gonna lie. Yeah, all my books are ugly. I don't think any of these covers are worth showing. Favorite book to movie adaptation you've seen so far this year? None. But this book that is on my list to read, Cream Puff Murder by Joanne Fluke, is a Hallmark movie, a Hallmark series of all her books. So I'll let you know. What books do you really need to read by the end of this year? All of them. All the books. All the books. Well, obviously book lovers and beach read are up there. Wow, their music outside is getting louder and louder. Nevermore. This is a series. It's the Trials of Morgan Crow. She's cursed. I've mentioned this book before in my hauls, but this is one book that I really want to read this year. Holier Than Thou. It's definitely one that I would love to get through this year. Fault Lines. Another one I would love to get through this year. And Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. Sounds amazing. So, Atomic Habits. Another one I would like to start this year. I feel like I have a lot more books that aren't necessarily like a fun read that I would like to read this year. Most fun books, like I don't care if I get to them or not. That is the end of this video. That I feel like I went through a lot of books. I just got to talk about books and I kind of enjoyed that. I've been missing my book content lately, and so I'm trying to bring those back a little bit. I also tried a new lip color today. I feel like it looks like my lips are a little ashy. I also did some swoopy swoops today. I'm working on it. I'm going to end this video here. If you guys enjoyed it, definitely give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you guys would like to see more book content, because I'm open to it. I love to sit here and just talk. So yeah, I do have more book videos coming soon. I'm working on them. I'm working on reading and just getting back into the love of reading. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in my next video.